Field trip. It's a Wednesday, but we are not in the Woody. It is the Podcast Daily. It is a stock watch. And we thought, it's the off week. Bill Landis, I'm Austin Ward. Let's go somewhere you can actually play some stocks. Buy and sell college football players. So we are in Grove City. We're getting ready for a big trade night on Saturday night, the biggest one of all time at Card Collector 2 Sports Cards. But before we get into that, and we will talk to Ryan and his team about that in a little bit for a special version of the Stonk Watch, we got to start making our picks.
Yeah, this does feel like an apropos setting, I believe, to talk about some stocks. Lord knows I've lost some money.
No, surely not.
Placing some wagers in here, if you want to call it that.
It is the only place where we can put our money where our mouth is.
That is true. It's hobby costs money, man. It's all right. It's the fun of it. You can make money too.
That's right.
That's the point. Stock watch. Who do I don't know if we talked about it. Have we talked about Tyleik Williams on a stock watch yet since the season started?
I picked him a couple weeks ago, and it was mainly so that I could get out in front of saying that I was pretty wrong about his impact this year for Ohio State.
Yeah, I'll have one of those later. But for now, I want to talk about Tyleik because I was looking at PFF grades, right? And I've said it a million times. I apologize for repeating myself. Like I don't take them as gospel, and I don't think anybody should. But they are an informative tool. If you look at I'm also an informative tool. If you look at interior defensive linemen across the country, Tyleik is like top 5 with just how he's playing overall, both against the run and the pass. It's his play against the run that I think has been most refreshing to see. It's just like consistent. His hand placement is good. Ryan Day has talked about that. He set the tone, I thought, against Notre Dame by getting into the backfield and tackling Aldrich Estime for a loss on the first play of the game. Almost had that interception. But had just been playing at a really high level. I think like all the defensive linemen, he probably got a little gassed by the end of that game, and like that happens. You want to see that improve certainly. But in terms of guys who are playing at their maximum level for this team right now, I think Tyleik is very high up on that list. So whatever stock is available left to buy that hasn't already been scooped up as he's played well every week, I would like to buy more of it.
Yeah, I think you and I have got that market corner now, and I never would have thought that I would be a Tyleik Williams investor. Certainly not after the first day of training camp in August when he goes down with the knee injury. And the past admissions of work ethic and all those other things from him directly. Clearly, he was putting in the effort to be ready. Once he was healthy, he's playing a huge volume of snaps, by far the heaviest workload of his career, and he's earned that, and he's living up to it. He deserves to keep getting more. You made a point in your rewatch that maybe in the next couple of weeks you scale that back a little bit, or some long-term concerns if he could continue to sustain that, because it is. For all of my conversations about defensive line rotation, that is a heavy burden to place on one defensive tackle.
It is, and I would extrapolate that to the ends as well. Like JT Tuimoloau and Jack Sawyer played every snap against Notre Dame. It's the conversation you always have, right? You want your best players to play the majority of the snaps when you're in a game like that. So I don't necessarily have a problem with those guys playing all the snaps or most of the snaps in a game like that. But you want to try to steal some rest for them then when you're playing the Marylands or Purdue's of the world. So I want to see if Hero Kanu can get up there, or Kenyatta Jackson, Caden Curry, guys like that.
There were people, Bill, that were like, well, this is what Austin wanted. They wanted the defensive ends to play every single snap. And look what happened. They gave up some, rushing plays in the second half. They got worn down. JT Tuimoloau made all of his best plays on the final drive of the game. So I don't want to hear that you have to stay fresh for the fourth quarter, because he played that entire volume and then played his best at the very end. So I will still stand on that hill. Maybe I'm wrong for it, but that's where I live now. So anyway, I'll go steal a page out of your book, and I'm going to say that Matthew Jones is a stock that may not be up a huge amount, but if you're saying who's the best Ohio State offensive lineman right now, I don't know that anybody would have said through 4 weeks that Matthew Jones would be playing at that level. I think that he is. You can pick all 5 of them, and I've seen times where they've given up pressures or getting missed assignments, whatever. I mean, that's how you see some of the issues in the run game pop up. The protection's not always going to be perfect, but it seems to me that Matthew Jones has been the most consistent of that bunch. And that partnership with Josh Fryer, again, while not perfect, seems like it's probably a little bit more secure than it is on the left side at this point. Don't think I would have had that in my preseason projections for Ohio State, but I will certainly invest in the right side of the offensive line, and specifically Matthew Jones at this point.
That's a good pick. He's a bright spot, on a line that I think is still working through some stuff. he had a huge block on Trevion's 61-yard touchdown run. He pulled and he rocked Maurice Leaf out, a linebacker from Notre Dame, as kind of like the first guy through and really let Trevion get to the edge on that play and get out of the house. Also had a good block later in the game. They ran a similar play, I think this time to the short side of the field. It was 9 yards. Trevion got tripped. It probably could have been a touchdown otherwise. They pulled the guard and center on that play as opposed to the guard and tackle. But Matthew Jones, again, had a really good block. He looks comfortable doing that. I don't think Donovan Jackson has looked particularly comfortable when they ask him to pull. But Matthew Jones, I think, does it with velocity, arrives with ill intent when there's a defender there to hit. And you're right. If you go snap to snap, if you want to nitpick, there's probably plays where he could certainly be better. But he's definitely been their most consistent guy, and I think as they're trying to unlock some things with this rushing attack, he's going to be all the more important.
All right. I had to get offensive line in before you.
Love it. So I will do what I said earlier and own up a little bit to being wrong about a player, and that was Josh Proctor. Because I just I totally wrote him off, so you'll enjoy this. Yeah, get comfortable. He's played really well, man. I'm waiting for him to get taken advantage of, to get exposed, and some of the ways we've seen happen, I think, earlier in his career, and it hasn't happened yet. So I can't do anything other than give him credit for it. He had a good camp, and we were all like, in the spring, why is Josh Proctor playing? In the summer, why is Josh Proctor playing? I guess because he was doing a really good job, and I personally did not give him enough credit or benefit of the doubt that he would be able to find this level of play in his 6th year at Ohio State, but he's been reliable for them. He'll need to continue to do so. The Maryland game with their passing attack and their skill, I think, will present yet another challenge, and a different one maybe than what Ohio State has seen thus far. But I trust him now, and Ohio State definitely trusts him. That's all that matters. But as someone who was a doubter and a skeptic about his ability to actually help this defense, he has thus far proved me wrong, and his stock is certainly on the rise.
There's no way to definitively prove the theory, but there have been all the jokes about going into the 6th year and how long it's taken and the issues he's had. I think also because he's been here 6 years, he's probably the best example of all of the turmoil and attrition and year-to-year uncertainty with the coaching staff on defense. He's had to live through all of that. And every single staff has come in and be like, well, that is an NFL player. That is elite athleticism. This guy has to be on the field. And then they can't get through to him, or he doesn't understand the system, or he doesn't execute it the way they want, and then they back off and seem like, all right, well, it won't ever happen. I think he, maybe more than anybody, if he had issues learning a playbook or getting used to the scheme and what he was being asked to do, responsibilities, some people just need time to learn something and reps to take it to the field. And the consistency from year 1 to year 2 with both Jim Knowles and Perry Aliano, I think has benefited him more than anybody else. And if you want to, say that, he should have been able to pick this up faster, fine. He didn't. He's doing it now. And he's the prime example of needing the same system year after year and the benefit of that consistency for the learning. I think that's the situation.
He has not, correct me if I'm wrong here, so 18 he was in Greg Schiano's defense, 19 he was in Jeff Hafley's defense, 20 was Kerry Combs, and 2021 was to be the second year of Kerry Combs, and he broke his leg in the second game of the year. So now he is finally playing in the system for the second year.
He's never had that opportunity. Yeah. And it looked like going into Oregon, he played really well against Minnesota in week 1. And it's like, well, it was a shoulder, I think, coming out of that. It was like, was he even going to play against Oregon? We have to have Josh Proctor out there. He's the most important guy to the defense. And then he was playing through an injury, and then it was a different one that got him with the broken leg. So this hasn't ever happened for him. Stock down, I don't even know how much lower it can get. The short yardage and red zone efficiency.
It's in the dirt.
It's I don't know what else to say about it. It's not for lack of trying. It's not for lack of effort. It's not for lack of creativity. I think we're a couple days enough removed from the win over Notre Dame where we can start looking at the things that have to be improved long term. Yes, they got the yard that they absolutely had to. There was also a little bit of help in their favor, thanks to Marcus Freeman. That's just calling it like it is. But, they tried stuff. They put Caden Curry out there at fullback. Didn't work. They tried to run the same play action at Chip Trayanum that they did to Indiana. Didn't work. He got blown up again. You're trying to run that route. It seems every opponent seems to know that that's what Ohio State's going to try and do and how easy it can be to stop it. They put Luke Montgomery out there again in the Bison package. Didn't work. They tried an end around. Like, they've done everything except like just running their normal offense or what's that called, Bill? Like global motion? Is that
orbit motion?
Orbit motion. I knew it was in the ballpark there. Like, I'm a broken record on that part. Like, those used to be the easiest touchdowns in the world for Ohio State. Like, somebody's gonna have to run with KJ Hill back and forth across the formation. Good luck to you. Chris Olave, same deal. Some of the motion throws that we saw Justin Fields and CJ Stroud, hooking up with Chris Olave or Garrett Wilson in the back of the end zone. Like, Ohio State's normal offense is still going to be pretty effective from the 1 or 2 yard line.
I have reached the point where I don't want to see them under center anymore, unless they're going to run a quarterback sneak. Which I watched Washington State run for a touchdown. They just had somebody push Cam Ward into the end zone. I think Penn State ran it 3 times against Iowa, just pushed Drew Aller over the first down marker. You're allowed to do it. I know people say like the Eagles do it all the time, but their quarterback squats 600 pounds. I bet you Drew Aller doesn't squat 600 pounds. He is a big cat. He's 250. Cam Ward at Washington State, I don't know if he squats 600 pounds or not. You know who was really good at QB sneaks? Tom Brady. What do you think he was squatting? Like, you can do the bar, yeah, just the bar. That's what I do too. I just don't understand why they don't do it. It's we don't talk to Ryan Day until next week, but I'm sure I'm not the only one who wants to ask question, because we've seen them do it in the past. That thing where they like bluff to the sideline, like, what's the play, and then go up and just sneak it. It was a free 3 yards every time they did it. And I get that like Justin Fields is a bigger guy, different athlete, but try it. Otherwise, like, whatever they're trying to do is not working. If they're not going to do that, just line up in the shotgun every time, run the ball or throw it.
Yeah, there was definitely a time at the end of the Urban Meyer era where like they were never under center, and Ohio State fans were asking all the time, like, why don't they just sneak it? It's so easy to convert. Like, and I would say, well, these are the reasons that they don't. And it wasn't I'm not opposed to it. And I wasn't saying that they shouldn't. I was like, here's why Urban Meyer doesn't do it. And Ryan Day seemed more open to it, and there has been more under center stuff. Maybe what's happened, not just in these 4 games. This is an issue that's carrying over from a year ago, or even longer than that in some instances. Like, maybe consider it a little bit more. Like, it's not very hard.
It's a pretty simple play, and it's very effective. And I think Kyle McCord will be willing to do it. I remember at one point during Urban's tenure at the end having a conversation. I don't remember if it was with Urban himself or somebody else, like, about this idea. And I know there were points throughout his tenure where like they weren't quite sure if the center could actually like do the snap. Like, and it's like, well, that's I guess, a point well taken. But they already do under center stuff here with Ryan Day, so that shouldn't be an issue. And it's just like, I don't know. And it's not like I think the interior line can do enough to. It's not even push forward. It's just like, don't get knocked back and allow the quarterback to like dive under you for the first down. So. I hope we see it, because I'm sick of watching them try to run for 1 yard doing anything else.
If you can also put Chip Trayanum or Caden Curry or Luke Montgomery right behind Kyle McCord or me, just pick me up and throw me over the line.
You are allowed to push.
Surely you're going to be able to get that first down. All right, so that's our idea there. We're going to take a break, and we're going to talk about some maybe real life cardboard stock with Card Collector 2, and then Bill and I will be back to wrap it up with our final picks on the Stock Watch. All right, the owner of the shop has decided that he will speak with us now. It's Ryan Johnson. He is Card Collector 2. We are down at his shop, and Saturday night is a big one. There's no Ohio State game for you.
Yeah.
But you got something else to fill the void.
Yeah, we're gonna run a pretty big trade night. Definitely the biggest one we've ever run. Got a lot of stuff going on. We just like you guys, we've partnered with Roosters for some free catering here. We're gonna have collectors from really all over the country, especially the Midwest. Got people flying in, driving in from all over. Gonna have CJ in before, CJ Hicks, to sign for a little while. We got him for about an hour to sign free autographs for about the first 40 to 50 people. Tons of giveaways. We'll have goodie bags for the first 100 people in the door at 6 o'clock. So yeah, really just a lot of stuff going on.
All right, so we're 4 games into it now for Ohio State. You are a huge Buckeyes fan. Yeah. About 11 o'clock on Saturday. How are we feeling?
We were nervous for sure. I think when they got the ball back at 4 minutes, they hadn't done much on defense the last couple of possessions. They took so much time off the clock. I was like, I didn't feel great. I kind of thought it was over. And
don't think you were alone there.
Yeah, I don't think I for sure. I know it wasn't. But JTT coming up big on a few plays there, and Notre Dame with some questionable play calls. It worked out, but it was definitely a nail biter, and blood pressure was a little high that day.
So take over the course of these 4 weeks.
Yeah.
who's somebody you think has exceeded your expectations the most on this Ohio State roster?
Denzel Burke stands out for sure. You saw flashes of him as a freshman and thought it was going to continue forever. And then, going into the sophomore season, probably not the year we had kind of hoped for. And they don't even really throw at him now. So Denzel definitely stands out as one. I think Emeka, he gets slept on, obviously, Marv just being the guy.
He's pretty good.
Marv takes up so much attention. But that third 19? Third 19. That was... I listened to Burns, talk about the other day, but if Ohio State does anything this year, that gets remembered forever. That's a throw and a catch, and I think Emeka stepped up pretty big. And we're seeing flashes of Trey again. Trayvon's had a pretty good year. He was injury prone last year. Was a little banged up. So those are a couple of the guys that just really stand out so far this year.
Most of those guys, I think you mentioned, now have cards. So NIL has changed the game a little bit so that you no longer have to wait for the draft product from Panini or get their NFL rookie cards. You can collect them while they're in school. So you've got a few of those here, and there'll be a lot of them, I imagine, on Saturday night. What are the best ways to collect current Buckeyes? Yeah,
NIL just changed the landscape, not only for college football, but college football collectors, right? The ability to collect these guys now. Shortly after trade night next week, we're going to have the new Bowman Chrome University, which is what this Denzel Ward is from.
Denzel Burke, right here.
Yeah, well, Denzel.
Already in the shop.
Denzel Burke. So we'll have the next version of this product coming out. It has Marvin in it. It's Marvin's first officially licensed trading card. That'll be out. So that'll obviously be a big chase for a lot of people. But tons of different ways. We have multiple products on the shelf now that really allow you to pull these guys while in college and really makes it a lot of fun.
Okay, you've also got Emeka and Jackson. That's a cool dual auto here. What's it?
Low numbered too. Little 101.
1 of 1.
Yeah, can't go wrong with those guys. So a couple Buckeye greats.
A little Travion color match there.
Yeah, this one's numbered 1 of 2. So that's the cool thing about Leaf Metal is a lot of the stuff is relatively low numbered. I don't think it's anything super, super high. So yeah, and these are relatively affordable. That's the nice part about this is, that Travion auto doesn't sell for, more than $50. So Denzel Burke is like a $3 card. So it's definitely a lot more affordable, right? Obviously, CJ and his stuff sold well when he was here and still sells well. Looks good early, but basically everybody outside of the quarterback is even more affordable. So it's fun. Yeah,
it's nice that we can come in for a stock watch with you earlier in the season and just talk about the current guys. It doesn't have to just be NFL only product. That's pretty sweet. And a lot more coming. You can get that all at Card Collector 2. It's going to be on sale in Grove City soon. Bowman U. That's a really fun product. I think
next week.
Next week. All right.
10-4.
And then Saturday night, autograph signing at 4:30.
4:30 to 5:30. Again, we got about 40 to 50 spots for that. And then trade night is 6 to 10.
6 to 10. All right. You don't want to miss it. We'll be here. The podcast will be hanging out. Thanks to Ryan for having us down for that. Back to the rest of the Stock Watch. All right. Thanks again to Ryan to having us down here in Grove City for a special version of the podcast daily. Looking at stocks. Bill's got one more pick.
Yeah, I'm going all positive in this one, I think. All stock up. And maybe there's not a ton of stock left to buy in Emeka Egbuka because he came into the season, I think, considered by a lot of people to be the second best receiver in the country. Now, if you look around statistically, there are some guys, I think, making a run for that. At Washington specifically, there are some very productive receivers out there. And Marvin Harrison Jr. and Emeka Egbuka, I think, are not quite at that level yet. It's a byproduct of the offense working through some stuff. I'm not worried about it. But Emeka had to step up in a major way last week against Notre Dame when Marvin was getting double teamed. He was getting triple teamed. Like on the 3rd and 19 play, there were 3 defenders on Marvin. It was kind of ridiculous. So you need Emeka to step up in those situations, and it's him stepping up, and it's also targeting him, a willingness to go to him in those big spots, which I don't think they did against Indiana when Indiana was also selling out to stop Marvin. And I think Emeka might have had 2 catches or 3 touches or something like that in that game. Obviously, much more deliberate about getting him the ball against Notre Dame, and it has to be that way as long as Marvin Harrison Jr. is living in this world. And it was nice to see Emeka be the focal point of the passing attack and show good spatial awareness, his ability to get open a little bit after the catch. I loved everything except for the sweep, but that even wasn't really his fault. That was just, I think, a poor play call and not blocked particularly well on the 4th down sweep. But he's a versatile guy whose versatility I think Ohio State will continue to tap into. I mentioned with Berm, they ran a wheel route with Emeka as the running back in that game. I'm curious to see more of that, and they had Travion out wide on that play.
That sounds like a lot of fun for a defensive coordinator.
Yeah, so there's some stuff there you can do with him because of his sort of like stocky build as a receiver. Berm compared him to Deebo Samuel a little bit, and I think that's probably an apt comparison. So I think he's always been good, right, since he's been here. but I think there's actually room for him to elevate even more in a world where defenses are really selling out to stop Marvin.
That's a really good pick. There seems to be some element of the stock market that is down on Cade Stover, spending a lot of time focusing on the perimeter blocking, which I would say he's not the nation's best perimeter blocking tight end. I don't know who that would be. I don't think that it's an easy ask for anyone to actually do it. And evaluating him purely on that and missing a couple blocks over the course of the year, I think is dwelling too much on one part of his game that may not be truly elite, and missing all the other parts that have been enhanced, expanded, and are really dangerous. And you look at the production that he's providing in the passing attack, the yards after catch. There was a clip shared of the violent chip that he provided, chip block, and then a catch after that, that I know that the NFL scouts were looking at and raving. Like, I don't know all the NFL scouts. I know that there are some conversations about him being a day 2 NFL draft pick. I don't know if that's real or not, but I think that that's how effective Cade Stover has been, and he is really, really important for Ohio State.
I'll repeat the stat I said on Tuesday's Daily for anybody who might have missed it. He's 4th in the country among tight ends in yards after the catch. He is, all the talk about him wanting to put in work to be a better route runner, be more dangerous with the ball in his hands, he's done it. The fumble, I guess, against Western Kentucky aside, that was kind of a weird play. He's a weapon in this offense, and it's the same conversation, I think, as Emeka. If they're going to provide space for guys like that, then those guys have to take advantage of it. And Cade has done that. And I think he's a pretty good inline blocker, mostly reliable as an inline blocker. The space stuff needs some work, but I agree with you. I think he's a good player. I think he is probably maybe underappreciated a little bit.
I don't know if this is excuse making or apologizing or what it is, but when those things happen, I almost feel like they're more schematic issues for Ohio State than they are problems with Cade Stover. He's a willing blocker. The toughness is not in question. Mm-hmm. He does it enough in other areas, whether that's run blocking or inline or anywhere else, that you think, well, he's not an incapable blocker. And I think some of the frustration a year ago was like, well, these bubble screens and the tunnels don't really work. Yeah. They're not timed up right, or they're not blocked well enough. Like, if that doesn't suit Ohio State's skill set or Cade Stover's skill set, then don't run it. You don't have to. It's the same deal with the short yardage. Like, play to your strengths. And Cade Stover is going to win a lot of matchups, if not all of them, against a linebacker and against most safeties, if not all of them. And if he has to block them to help spring the rushing attack, he knows how to do that too. Like, I can't remember a time, you pointed out maybe one or two, where it's like he wasn't assisting with an edge block on the run that was ideal. Mm-hmm. But that's going to happen. You don't ace every single test that you take.
Yeah, and we, as people who analyze Ohio State, I think, and I include myself in that sometimes, tend to focus on those plays more than we do like the 8 that are blocked really well. So I agree with you. I think it's, if they lean into the things that Cade does really well, he will do nothing but help this offense. And there are times when the staff, I think, can put him in some more advantageous spots to accentuate those strengths. But when they do, I think he's great.
That was a positive sprinkled in with a little negative for me. I don't know. It's just something about the off date, bringing it out. But it's fun to come down here for a little field trip. We will be back in the Woody later on Wednesday. Ohio State is having its only media availability of the off date with some players. That'll be around noon, and Bill and I will have some Snappy J's coming out of that. And then, if you want to hang out with us, we're going to be down here Saturday night, biggest trade night ever at Card Collector 2 in Grove City. It is going to be awesome. Can't wait. We hope to see you here. Maybe we'll both bring some of the Ohio State stuff that we've hit over to the draft products and just hand it out if you've got some kids, or if you recognize us and you want to chat, we'll do that too. We're ready to hang out. We're ready for that, and we're ready to enjoy the rest of the off date. He's Bill Landis. I'm Austin Ward. Thanks again for joining us on the Podcast Daily. We'll talk to you later.